Hey guys, Strike here, coming at you with a video for the first time in God knows how long. You could probably just go and check my last video. It was sometime last year that I uploaded it, and it's been a busy year, or so since I've uploaded my last video. I've moved out of the house and got my, first 9 months living out without, living with my parents and whatnot. And lots happened since then. Toy Story 4 came out, and one of the things that I've been recently doing is watching a lot of VHS tapes because I got that VCR. And one of the first VHS tapes I got, because I was buying them at Goodwill, one of the first ones I got was Toy Story because it was the epitome of my childhood. And with Toy Story 4 coming out, of course, they released a bunch of new toys. One of the new toys being the new Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head for Toy Story 4, which use the new Potato Head bodies and a lot of the new parts, which I am very hateful towards. I hate a lot of the new Potato Head designs. The one plus side to the new designs is they came out with these insanely accurate, maybe not insanely accurate, but the most accurate Toy Story Potato Head parts that they've ever made. Whew. Okay, sorry, reaching across the room. Because as you can see, these are the Toy Story collection nose and mustache pieces compared to the new Hasbro Potato Head Toy Story version. And they're not spot on like these are, because these are literally used from the digital data, as probably many of you know. So these are exactly how they are in the movie. And then you've got these, which are a lot better than what we've been getting since 1995 in terms of standard Potato Head pieces. I don't have the mustache here with me right now, but this was the nose that they've been making for Potato Head since like the 80s. And this was the one that would always come with your Toy Story Potato Heads since the very beginning. And obviously they weren't anywhere near the proper shape that the Toy Story version uses. Now this one's not as orange. It's a little bit of like a pale orange, which, I mean, this is a pretty bright orange. But yeah, this nose is very different. They almost never made a mouth like this for a Toy Story Mr. Potato Head. The ones for the Toy Story Collection one were very wide open. I don't have any of those around. I don't know where they're at because I made a custom one out of clay for my Toy Story Collection. But the peg is extremely long, but this is probably the most accurate Potato Head mouth from the Toy Story movies. The original one just included the standard teeth, or like the Mrs. Potato Head lips. And then these eyes are pretty good in terms of shape. It drives me absolutely nuts how almost all of your Toy Story toys, Buzz, Woody, Potato Head, have these like drooping eyelids. And the only one who really has those is Slinky Dog. So these are closer to Slinky Dog's eyes than Potato Head's. But I mean, since when he's alive, he's always making that expression. That's what they gave him. He doesn't come with eyebrows in the new version, but these eyes are pretty decent. Pretty decent. I wish they were wide open like they are when he's, in toy mode in the movies, but, they didn't really want to go that route. So this video is probably going to be a little lengthy because it's talking about the process of making an accurate Toy Story Potato Head from the films. Ever since I was a kid, I know a lot of people are the same way, but ever since I was a kid, I'd watch the movies, or especially the first one, over and over again. It was kind of unhealthy. And I always pointed out inaccuracies between like the Hasbro Mr. Potato Head and like the Thinkway Buzz and Woody. I was always kind of annoyed with how they didn't just make them like they were in the movie. Now some things you honestly can't legitimately do, and my parents always told me the reason they didn't have separate eyes or separate shoes was because of choking hazards. I personally think that they didn't want to spend the money to make the new molds. They just wanted to use the stuff they'd been making since the 80s, and that's why we didn't get, a replica of Potato Head from the movie. And Hasbro just like, well, we can make bank by just using what we've already been making and just printing it in a new box. So pretty much this was like my first step, was buying the Toy Story 4 Potato Head. and putting it on a traditional Mr. Potato Head body. Luckily, I've had a couple laying around still. I thought I wasn't going to have any. But another thing that I wanted to avoid was using these traditional potato head arms. These are the soft or hard rubber or soft plastic, it's like a rubber plastic hybrid type thing. I wanted to avoid using those. I wanted to use the arms from the 1980s model of Potato Head, and I've got my childhood Potato Head right here. I finally got the pipe for it because he came with a pipe back then. But these arms were something I wanted him to have because they're definitely more close to the Toy Story arms. And one thing, he's got an American flag in his head right now because of 4th of July. But up in there, you can see those big white plugs that keep the arm in the body. They don't come out like, Mr. Potato Head arms should. So the easiest step of this process of making an accurate Toy Story Potato Head was just taking an X-Acto knife, being very careful. If you're a kid and you want to do this, have your parent do it or something so I don't get yelled at. But I took an X-Acto knife and I just sat there and I cut the arm at the plug, which you kind of had to pull just a tad bit and then slice it in there without, ruining the end here. And then what I actually did is I took pegs, not from arm pieces, because I wanted to, at the time I didn't have as many of these arms available, so I used the teeth piece, the traditional teeth piece, which was honestly a mistake. I'm thinking I'm going to redo the pegs on the arms because the teeth piece is extremely thin because it suctions into the teeth themselves actually suction onto the body pretty well, which kind of gives for lets the peg be a little bit thinner. So these arms with the teeth pegs are kind of loose. Kind of like in the movie, I'm able to pick them up and just kind of shake the parts off of them, which is pretty movie accurate, but it kind of gets annoying because sometimes I'll go to just pick them up and everything will fall out pretty much, especially the arms. The arms are extremely loose, but they look great. I'm very happy with the way the arms have turned out, even if the peg is a little bit small. His eyes are underneath my leg. It's been a while since I made a video, so it's probably going to be a bit awkward, but a lot of people in different comment sections and different videos were asking me to do this video. But that's technically on, as far as, getting stuff done, that's the most progress I've made. Now, I have underneath this lid a bunch of potato bodies that have been drilled through and played with. So this one was kind of me testing out measurements. I didn't do anything with the legs yet, but I'm trying to figure out the best amount of space to put in between the eye pegs. The peg holes for the eyes. I had my eyes somewhere, but this body, I kind of jacked up the eye a little bit. It's a little lopsided. It was kind of one of my test runs. I have a pair of the Toy Story 4 shoes that I mangled and cut, because I did buy 2 of them. I mangled and cut them up. They're this weird pale sand blue color, and I don't know why they did that. That's the color of the shoes in the movies. It just annoys me. They'll go out of their way to create an inaccuracy in these things, and it's just like, why? Just make it the way it's supposed to be. So, I kind of testing out like the peg holes for the shoes and how they're going to look and whatever. But I will say I'm not using your traditional Potato Head shoes because they're not accurate to the ones in the movie. Now, as you've probably noticed, I do own the Toy Story Collection Mr. Potato Head. Does he work? Does he operate? No, he doesn't. He stopped working years ago, and I don't know if it was because he was dropped too many times, but I was really annoyed with the fact that he was broken. And I opened him up and took out all the electronics and was trying back then on my own as a 16, 15-year-old kid trying to make my own screen-accurate Potato Head. Oh boy, do I wish I didn't do that, because the price on these things, even secondhand, is atrocious. I came across one of these working condition in a toy shop in town, and they wanted $350 for it, and that is the cheapest price I've seen for him since, which is, it blows my mind. I'm really proud that I had him, but I'm also really sad that he stopped working, and then I also kind of tore him apart. But anyways, this is the actual accurate size, shape, and everything of the Potato Head body from the movies. He's just an animatronic toy, so he's got all these different bells and whistles to him that the traditional Potato Head bodies don't have, like proper holes and whatnot. And of course your speaker holes and your Try-Me holes and this giant battery pack compartment instead of a standard compartment. And then this hideous monstrosity on the bottom. So the goal with this is to try to find a way to cast the shell itself, seal up these giant holes and whatnot, and try to make traditional holes for the Potato Head and get it to a working point where it's the same function of that body. Because that weird, like, smile thing he's always had has always been weird to me. He doesn't have that in the movies. Also, just some of the shape, the cheeks you can kind of see, like, there's a lot of differences that you have to be this nerdy to be able to point out. But for right now, I'm sticking with the traditional Potato Head body. Here is the best outcome so far I've had with this body, and as you can see, he's got the separate shoes from the collection, and that these are the shoes I will be using. I'm going to work on casting them. You can also see mine have been, like, discolored for some reason. They're not actually connected to anything. I've got snapped off pegs, cut off pegs. They're actually X-Acto knifed, so be careful if you use X-Acto knives. I've got the best success with the eye holes. I don't actually have test eyes yet. That's kind of what I'm working on right now. The ears are something I'm working on because there have never been, aside from the collection ears, which are absolutely huge, I have been using, well, I've basically been using your traditional Potato Head ears for the time being, but these are much bigger and probably more proportionate to the movie ears, because, you know, I'm trying to get the proportions right in the same way I'm trying to get the shapes right. So there's like one ear that I've done, which I think is probably the best one I've done. There's just not a matching one, which I kind of regret not doing. There is a matching one for these guys, but these are somewhat smaller. So if I do go with the bigger ear, these ones are going to be used for the misses, which I am also working on. Okay, I'm just going to drop everything. I am working on the misses, and she's not getting as much attention, in all honesty, just because I'm trying to get the Mister done first. He was in the series first, so, you know, makes a little more sense. Get that out of here. But yeah, this is kind of what he's going to look like with the shoes. And again, the shoes are kind of a little big, but I'm not too worried about the size of the shoes. The ears I'm still trying to work on. And the eyes have been proving to be the hardest part. Now, where did I put the eyes? Because the eyes are a completely different subject. You can see my Woody that I'm also working on here with the pull string ring and all that. But that's a different story. So the eyes, I took a pair of those, the ones that he's wearing, and I tried sanding them down to the best of my ability. You can kind of see the eyelid is still underneath there. But I've put so many layers of spray paint on here that you can see that it's just kind of not really, it's too thick or something, so it's kind of bad. And I had pegs glued to the eyes, but they have snapped off. This softer rubber material from the older parts from like the 80s and 90s seemed to take better to super glue than this new harder plastic, because yes, there is a difference in the plastics they've been using. These are so much, like, it's so much of a harder plastic, even though it's thin. This is almost like a hard rubber, where that's like, you know, more of like a softer plastic, I want to say. But yeah, so far, you know, I'm experimenting. I know that there's some other guy out there who is like basically just doing the same thing I'm doing, just way more successfully. And I did in this body drill lower armholes, because his arms are lower than the traditional potato head body holes have them at, so we get those plugged in there, and that's kind of where they're supposed to sit, a lot lower. And then with like the big ears, I'm actually thinking I might get some sort of sculpting material like green stuff or something and sculpt over these giant flimsy crappy ears. And then of course, you know, once I get the eyes, like I said, these are kind of trash, but once I get the eyes worked out, it'll probably look a lot better. But it is a process. I've been working on this for a couple months now, and it's proving to be a challenge, especially since I don't always have time to sit down and work on this stuff, or, you know, since it's kind of hard watching other people post stuff to the internet and they're miles ahead of where I'm at. But I am still working on my own stuff before I give in and just have, you know, someone else, you know, show me up, and then I just kind of buckle and, you know, do exactly what they do. I'm trying to work on my own stuff. Woody is a completely different subject, but yeah, I am working on Woody. Buzz Lightyear, my Buzz Lightyear specifically, just needs to be repainted a little bit here and there. I was gonna try to do a glow-in-the-dark coat. That would probably be stronger, so he glows brighter in the dark. That would be kind of cool. And he definitely needs some sticker replacements because I'm missing a couple stickers. But that is my progress so far. It's nothing too crazy. But yeah, I'm trying to, you know, do something I wanted to do since I was a kid, because no one else, company-wise, like Hasbro or Thinkway or anyone, has been able to actually give us the potato head we deserve. This was the closest thing that we had, and it's still, as great of a toy as that was, it's still kind of annoying they didn't just make a traditional replica. But anyways, that's enough rambling. I'll probably make a video on like Woody and maybe more progress of this once it gets further along and I can actually do something impressive with it. But that's it for now. I only made this video because people wanted to see what I was working on. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later, guys.